Jesus told a parable about a wealthy man who was leaving on a long journey. Before leaving, he met with his 3 servants and instructed them to take care of business while he was away. He entrusted the first servant with 5 talents, the second with 2, and the third with 1. The man was placing great trust in these 3 servants. Since a talent was worth at least $15,000, he was putting something like $120,000 in their hands, which in today's terms would be millions of dollars. He instructed them to invest the money wisely. When the wealthy man returned home several months later, his servants were called in to give an accounting of their investments. The first servant did very well. He invested the 5 he had been given and made 5 in profit, so he handed over 10 talents to his master. The second servant had been given 2, but he too doubled his master's money and handed over 4 talents. The master praised and thanked these 2 wise and industrious servants. Then the third servant timidly approached the master and handed over the same 1 talent he had been given. "What's this?" the master demanded. "I gave you 1 talent, and you give me 1 in return? That's it?" The servant replied, "Well, sir, I was afraid you would be angry if I failed and lost the money, so I did the safe thing. I buried it in a field so I could return it to you now, safe and sound." The master was not pleased. He said, "You could have at least put it in the bank and earned a little interest, but I guess you couldn't be bothered." Then he dismissed that servant. The point here is that God has given each of us various amounts of talents, that is, various gifts and abilities. Our talents might be athletic, or artistic, or intellectual. You might have leadership qualities or people skills, or be a good organizer, or even a natural-born teacher. You might find joy working with children or with the elderly. The list of gifts and talents is a long one. Jesus is telling us that the Master, God that is, expects us to use whatever talents we have been given to serve Him, to serve God. Some of us are very talented. We're like that first servant who received the 5 talents. And some may be somewhat less talented, more like the servants who received 2 or even 1 talent. God doesn't expect us all to produce like the first servant, to produce 10. No, God simply asks us to take what we have been given and to use it well. Take note of the second point here in this parable. God gives each of us various gifts and talents, not just so we can enrich ourselves, but so we can enrich the lives of those around us. Remember, whatever we do for even the least, we do for God. We serve God first and foremost by serving God's children, God's sons and daughters, and by caring for God's creation.